Good morning, my peeps. I'm laughing at myself because this is like attempt 723 at this video. If I keep this up, I'm going to be saying good evening before I find a video that is going to work. Anyway, it's fine. Hi. Okay, so yes, this is another attempt to talk about the quality of what 2022 can bring us and the amount of healing power that's actually at the core of this year, and the propensity it has to be completely life-altering. As long as you're working on the blocks that you hold within yourself and start to recognize your own patterns and your own toxic traits and doing some healing and shadow work, those are all going to be really important aspects of your growth for 2022. So let's talk about it, but I have to move my camera and my phone because I have a diagram again. Here we go. Oh, okay. So let's talk about what 2022 is really going to highlight for us and the opportunity that it's going to have for us. So if we have two options, every day we have two options. We live on humanity lane, and our year is 2022, and I'll talk about that in just a minute. But we have two options to come from the house of love, the address of love, which is a really high vibration. Just for an example, I put the house number as 1,000. 1,000 humanity lane. But we also have the other option of coming from a place of judgment. And judgment, if we really boil it all down, is just fear wearing different clothing. And fear is an ego-based experience. So what you are perceiving goes through the lens of the ego, which creates the fear and dresses as judgment, basically. Understand there's some social conditionings and teachings and things like that can definitely come into play in this. But for the most part, it's going to reside in your lower chakras, in the lower portion of your body. And depending on how much you hold, depending on how much you hold, it can rise into the higher chakras if you're not aware of it, not taking care of it. The address that I have at the House of Judgment is 3. And 3 is simply representing the fact that it's far lower in vibration and frequency than that of love, right? So that's where we're at. But every day, these guys are neighbors. And we get the option of choosing, am I going to leave my house from the point of love? Okay, I'm back. Had to tend to a little kid. She's not little anymore. Anyway, every day we get to choose. We're going to exit the house of love or the house of judgment. If we're going to leave and cross the threshold of our day from the house of love, guess what we're going to experience every time we cross that threshold out into the world of experience? If you said love, you're right. So, on the other hand, if we're going to cross the threshold of judgment and go out into the world of experience every day, what are we going to see and experience more of? Yes, fear-based existence and experience. So more judgment, more ego-based, filters. if we take an example of, let's say that we leave the House of Love and we're walking down the street and we see a homeless person with an empty bottle of whiskey in front of them. If we come from the House of Love and we see them, we can connect with them and give them love. We can communicate with them and listen to their story. We can do love-based actions and help that person through an experience of love. Or if we leave from the position of judgment and we're walking down the street and we see the same person, we then find the same wounds that mirror our vulnerabilities with their vulnerabilities. And instead of presenting them with love, we're presenting them with more lower-based vibrational experiences. That is not what they need. They have enough of their own. They don't need us to throw that to them. So depending on every moment of every day, are you going to choose to come from the place of love, which is a much higher vibration, or are you going to come from the place of judgment? And this includes self-judgment. This also includes self-love. Now, what's interesting is if we take a look at it vibrationally, if love is here in vibration and judgment is down here, then they don't ever cross paths. If you're coming from the house of judgment, how are you going to get up here without consciously going to the neighbor's house and walking back outside so you can experience that? But the same is also true then for judgment. If you're coming from the place of love, it's very difficult to lower your vibration enough to experience judgment. Now, what are the things that this year is teaching us? Let me flip my screen here. Okay, so what are the things that 2022 is planning on teaching us? One of them that I want to talk about is when you boil the year 2022 down, it's in numerology number 6. And 6 in numerology is a representation of balance. It's also a perfect number. And so there's purity that comes with it. When I look at the timeline of 2022, it has this kind of sparkly light to it and a lightness about it. It isn't heavy. It isn't, it's just light. Light is what I see. So I'm going to flip this again. 6 is also the most aligned number with love, unconditional love and benevolence. So pure. I'm going to write that up here. Pure. It also brings in a sense of balance. Now, I'm going to go back to that in just a second. But what it's really bringing us to is this. Healing. The year 2022 is going to ask us to go into deep healing. And it's going to present us with opportunities that we never saw coming in order for us to go into the depths of our own soul, to start experiencing life from the house of love more often than the house of judgment. And this will be a daily practice. This will be a moment-to-moment choice. Am I feeling myself coming from the threshold of judgment? Then I need to stop, turn around, and come back from the point of love. It goes with how you communicate with yourself. It goes with how you communicate with others. It goes with how you interact with what you see as your purposes. All of it. So healing is really what's coming to you in 2022. Through that, you find yourself in a more peaceful place. You're experiencing far more happiness than you probably ever have. Ever. Did you hear me? I said ever. Far more happiness than you probably have ever experienced. And maybe you didn't know you had the capacity to experience that level of pure joy and pure happiness. But that's what 2022 is bringing us into. All right, keep going. This level of thriving, and I want to talk about that for just a second. Oh boy. Shoot. I don't know how to do this yet. Someday I'll figure it out. The level of thriving is going to rise exponentially. And so if we have our baseline of thriving that we've been at for many years, let's say 30 years. If we've been at that baseline of thriving for 30 years, and now 2022 comes in and says, listen, this is the place of healing. We have to heal, and we have to come from the place of love in order to do that. That means that this level of thriving is going to increase drastically and dramatically over a short period of time. Okay, so it's going to do this. Actually, that's being really nice about it. It's probably going to do this. Yeah, that's a little more dramatic. That's probably right. So once you make choices, if this is your timeline for 2022, you make choices and actions along these lines. Every time you do that, it goes up. Okay? And then you get to this point where you're like, holy buckets, this is what I've been missing. This is what I've been wanting and seeking and trying to align my life with. So this level of happiness will be one that you've never experienced before. And that is going to translate into all relationships, including the relationship with yourself. And we're going to talk about community. So it's going to include the relationship with yourself. And so coming from a point of love with yourself is going to be paramount in 2022. Are you going to be perfect at it? Absolutely not. None of us will be. But will you grow in that aspect? 1000%. When you begin that rapid increase in thriving, you're going to notice that your community of people is going to change drastically and very rapidly. So please know, please know that is okay. That is so okay for your community of people to decrease in size, because it's going to, and to become so beautiful. Your tribe will decrease in numbers, but the quality of what you gain and give in that tribe, there's no measurement. That's going to happen. Expect it. Parts of that can and will be emotionally painful for you. That's okay. It's okay to grieve that. It's okay to be upset over the loss. That's okay. Don't deny yourself those feelings. Sit with them. Let them move through you. Don't harbor them. Don't hold them. Don't give them a place to stay. Sit with them and let them move through you. Recognize them. I see you. You can stay for a moment, and then you have to go. Your tribe, your people, your community is changing. It's supposed to. That number 6. 6. I'm a mess, is bringing us in that direction. Don't get hung up on what you're losing perceivably. And that's an ego-based tether. What I want you to work through is the feeling of when those disconnects take place, the expanse that opens in your body. Because that expanse that is created is now going to be filled for it with benevolence and love. So I put this word in here, balance, because 6 in numerology really does kind of have a representation of balance. I despise this word balance. I honestly don't think it exists. And I'd be willing to have a conversation for you to prove me otherwise. But I put balance in here because I really feel like these are all going to happen. But when you choose this, it also has the propensity to do this. And there will be moments when we make a mistake and we choose a lower vibration. We forget we get caught up in the emotions and the ego-based conversations that are held in our head. And we make a choice. We lower our vibration for something. Oops. Recognize it and then make a different choice. Correct it. Correct it. You don't have to live with the choice. Not anymore. I heard you argue that. Yeah, so the balance portion of it is witnessing how our choices equate. I like that. The balance portion of it is witnessing how our choices equate. So when I choose to come from a love position, I'm going to see and experience love. If I choose to come from a judgment position, I'm not able to see and experience love. I have to work very hard to see it. I have to raise my vibrations to get there. Okay, and then chips. I touched on it a moment ago, but the first thing you have to do here is recognize your relationship with yourself. That, my friend, is pure. It doesn't mean that you're pure. It doesn't mean that you're not working through some sludge. It doesn't mean that you're not going to have ups and downs. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that for the first time, I shouldn't say the first time, because I've only been around for 43 years, but 42 years. I'm an old soul, whatever. For the first time in a long time, the next 365 days, the pattern of energy is very stable to bring us into the healing of ourselves, the witnessing of ourselves. You'll see a lot of this mass awakening is happening in 2022, and it is. It's already started. And the conversation will change. The communities will change. The vibration collectively of humanity lane is going to increase drastically. Watch. It's going to be amazing. It already is amazing. So, choosing to align yourself with 6 coming from the place of love means that when you walk out your door and experience your daily life, or even when you walk back into your house and experience your life at home, You are witnessing this from a place of unconditional benevolence. Pretty amazing. I think that's all I have to say about this. I think another video will come about as a result of this, but we're going to leave it at this one. Anyway, thank you for spending 20 minutes with me while I explain this, and I extend to you the number 6. Love, benevolence, peace, happiness, community, joy. Soak it all in. Take a moment. Breathe it in. I'll see you later.